What's up, YouTube? Kedris here. This is my match reaction to Liverpool 1, Nottingham Forest 0. And there was a lot of controversy following this late minute goal by Alexis McAllister in the 90th plus 7 minute. And I want to talk about it. I also want to talk about the players. I want to talk about Vitor Pereira and his tactical decisions and substitutions. And I want to talk about us moving forward because I have hope. Come on. So I got the lineups pulled up on SofaScore and FotMob. I recommend both apps to anybody. They are free and I'm not sponsored. So, I'm doing this out of good faith. They provide great data. Looking at the lineups, we will start with Liverpool because that's what I always do in my match reaction videos. They had Allison in goal, Szoboszlai, Konate, Van Dijk, Kirkes, McAllister, Gravenberch, Salah, Curtis Jones, Gakpo, and Ekitike. This was a lineup that I kind of predicted. What ended up happening was Wirtz suffered an injury in the warm-up. So he was switched out for Curtis Jones late. And actually, later on in the game, Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones switched with McAllister taking the 10 position, Szoboszlai kind of playing that midfield role, and Curtis Jones moving to right back and them interchanging. So the team overall, I think they were all right. Salah was not good. Nico Williams locked him up pretty good. Curtis Jones in the 10 did not provide any creativity like I thought he would. The thing with him is that he's a hard worker, great on the ball, but he just doesn't have the creative spark that he needs to be playing the 10 position. I think his role is more as a workhorse 8. Looking at the others, Gakpo didn't do much. McAllister, except for his goal, wasn't really that influential. I'd say overall, we definitely dominated the performance, and you can tell by the attack momentum bar over here on the left side that we absolutely smashed them in the first half. Like, it was ridiculous domination in the location. And they came back in the second half. Vitor Pereira talked about it in his press conference. It was more of a we tired out kind of thing instead of a more they got better. I would also add, he didn't talk about it, that they did play more conservative in the second half, which is why they held on to more possession, but didn't really create any meaningful opportunities except for one until the 90-plus minute. I think Liverpool really have an issue with scoring goals, especially with Wirtz not there to interact with Ekitike. And we should have won this game on the balance of play. We should have won, but our finishing in the final third failed us, and we got to talk about it. Moving on to the Nottingham Forest lineup, I'll start from the back, work my way to the front like I always do. Ortega, no problems, no qualms. I don't blame him for the goal. He saved one that actually got ricocheted by Ina onto McAllister's arm for another. Was disallowed by the refereeing and VAR. So I don't think he's at fault for anything. He did a decent performance. I wouldn't say outstanding, but he wasn't asked to do much. We pretty much dominated the match most of the time, and they didn't create that many chances. Nico Williams, excellent performance. Absolutely dominated Salah. Didn't give him any change, any joy. The only thing Salah contributed was when he won a header at the back post from Gakpo when he crossed it in. He was able to head it into the danger area. And that goal was actually blocked by Ortega and Murillo, who did have a sliding tackle to block Curtis Jones. Overall, great performance. No complaints. Murillo, great defensive performance. He had a couple of errant passes where he literally just passed it straight to the opposition, like the person standing 6 feet from him at some points. And it was only twice, but can't be doing these things. Luckily, we recovered. They didn't score or get any opportunities from it. So, no problems for me. Great player. I think he's going to go in the summer, unfortunately, but as of right now, he's doing the business for us. Milinkovic, he was okay. He didn't really have a striker to hold on to, so he was kind of anonymous. I do think the goal where it bounced off McAllister's arm was allowed because Milinkovic wasn't in the correct position. He kind of bit and came closer to Murillo. And what that caused was Ekatike to get in front of Ina, which at the time I blamed Ina for, but going back and watching the replay, it was Milinkovic's fault for vacating the space and closing down the area. There was nobody between him and Murillo that he was really trying to cover. He was just kind of panicking a little bit, and that's what led to that chance and goal that was disallowed, rightfully so. And outside of that, though, he was anonymous. It was an okay performance. He wasn't asked to do much. His passing was okay. Let's move on. Ola Aina, I gave him a lot of criticism in the watch along because I thought it was his fault that Ekatike got in and got the header on target that Ortega saved for the McAllister goal. Turns out it wasn't his fault. Moving on to the second incident where I got pissed at him was I thought he played Van Dijk onside. But going through further evidence, which I'll present later, I don't think he was at fault. I think he played the situation correctly. So outside of that, what can I talk about? Defensively was solid, didn't have any problems. His passing was pretty woeful. It was a lot of times where he would get the ball and then he'd just turn it over. He'd pass it into no man's land. He'd pass it into the middle, and there'd be only a Liverpool player there. It was really weird to watch. I was getting frustrated with him during the match. I think he needs to get better. Defensively, great. Need to work on the passing and the attention. Moving in the midfield, we absolutely dominated Liverpool. Sangare had himself a game again. He absolutely cleaned up anything and everything. Anderson was pretty good defensively. He was able to get in the pockets of space. My only problem with Anderson during the match was that he kept making these passes up the pitch, especially in the second half, that went nowhere or went to a Liverpool player. He wasn't picking out people. He also mishit a couple passes in the middle of the park for no real reason. He wasn't under pressure, so I don't know what's going on with him, but he needs to tighten up. He needs to get better. But his performance wasn't the reason we lost the match. I don't think. Maybe some of his choices in the final third, but I put that more on other players. Speaking of other players, we got Morgan Gibbs White played the 10. I actually thought he had an amazing game and that they should switch Anderson and his score. He was in the half spaces, picking up the ball in the half turn, creating chances, providing opportunities, putting the ball on a plate for certain players. He provided crosses, he provided passes, and it just wasn't taken advantage of by certain people, being Igor Jesus. And I think when he started to run out of steam playing so much on Thursday and then today is when we really, really dropped off and we started kind of reverting to that defensive mindset and that sitting in kind of mentality. Unfortunate and frustrating, but I don't think he's the problem, and I think he did his job to the fullest extent that is possible. Great, great performance. Moving on to Hutchinson, another solid performance. Didn't provide much, but he did. I mean, he did provide the opportunity for Igor. I don't know why Igor Jesus decided to balloon away from the ball when he could have just swiped at it and got a shot on goal. But I'll get to him later. Hutchinson, he provided opportunities. He took on his man. He was positive in the way he did things. He was consistent throughout the match, and that's honestly all I can ask for from a player, especially a wing player who I know they get exhausted the most because they got to go up and down the pitch, coming back defensively, going forward offensively, and I think he had a good performance. Moving on to the other winger, the bane of my existence. I don't know how the fuck he's rated a 7 on FOTMob. Absolutely ridiculous. He was atrocious. He would get the ball, dribble into space, and then slow down play. Whenever he was asked to make a smart decision or cross the ball in, he didn't do it. All of his passes were either errant or he just didn't pass at all. I don't understand his obsession with trying to cut inside every single time. He needs to be able to take on the man, and in order to be able to take on a fullback, to challenge a fullback, you have to be able to go to the byline. You have to be able to show the willingness to go to the byline, and he didn't do that. He's a frustrating player because you can see the talent, but he's lost all of his pace. I said during the watch along he wouldn't even be like higher than 80 on any of his acceleration or sprint speed. He needs to be a super sub, guys. He really does. And I'm not a fan of Ndoye, but Ndoye, for me at least, I think needs to start ahead of him. Just not good enough. Not good enough. Moving to the striker position, Igor Jesus. This wasn't the match for him. He seems to struggle in the Premier League, and we really, really, really need to find a solution to him. I think the solution is Taiwo Awoniyi. He is proven to score goals in the Premier League. Every time I see him on the pitch in the Premier League, he doesn't seem to be struggling. Yeah, you can say he shins the ball and whatnot, and he's not a really technical player, but do we need a technical player for our striker? I don't think so. Not in the Premier League, at least. We need a guy who can bully center backs, who can get into threatening spaces, who has pace to outrun certain players in the Premier League, which is the most important. And I think out of our three strikers, he is the paciest. I think moving forward, we need to start Awani in the Premier League. And I will be doing that on all my lineup videos. I will be reinforcing that in X, and I think that is the solution for the Premier League moving forward. Igor Jesus in Europe, excellent, excellent player. He should start in the Premier League. A substitution, and I think a good one, honestly. I think he'd be great if he came on and the opposition was tired. He could be a little bit more like energized. I think he'd be great. Moving to the substitutions, Delane Backwell. I was one of the people that advocated for him to come on. I was advocating for him to get another chance. He didn't take it. He absolutely was terrible. Lost control of the ball a lot. Couldn't really get touches in. Passing was terrible. Decision making was questionable at best. He didn't really take on a man. He kind of just wimped out whenever he saw the fullback, passed it backwards. I have one more performance for him. He can play against Fenerbahce on Thursday, but if he can't show me something, I'm done with him, man. He needs to go back to France, go wherever he needs to go. He's not for me. We need to look at a replacement in the summer. You got one chance, Bakwa. Fenerbahce Thursday. Show me something. Dane Ndoye, honestly, he came on. We kind of lost control of the game at that point. What to say about him? He was all right. He was all right. He didn't really produce anything, but he wasn't bad. He just did a little something, held on the ball, kind of. Really mediocre. Just really mediocre. I think if he played like the first 60 to 70 minutes, being that mediocre player, I would be fine with that for where we are at this point. And then having like Hudson-Odoi come on and being like a super sub and creating that impact, I think would be something that's overlooked, but would be what I would like to see. Nicholas Dominguez came on. He was he was on it. He was winning the ball. His passing was a little errant, but overall, I think he was the best substitute we had come on. He really didn't affect the game, but when he was working, when he was doing things, he was winning. He was winning his duels. He was winning when it came to tackling, and that's really all you can ask from a defensive midfielder. Moving on to Lorenzo Luca. He's in the same boat for me as Backwell. Besides his goal at Leeds, I've seen nothing that tells me that he's going to be even a decent striker, especially in the Premier League. I'm willing to give him like a match or two more as a substitute, but he's starting to look like a dud, guys. And I was excited because he was tall, but he doesn't win headers. It's weird. I like I said, I give him a match or two, but for me, he's kind of spiraling down the tank. He's going down the toilet. McAtee kind of came on for like a token substitution for MGW. Was it for MGW? I don't remember. Anyways, and it didn't really do much. Didn't affect the game. So moving on, this is where we started getting to the controversy. I got Ref Watch pulled up right here. This is where you can go. It's on Sky Sports, and it's basically they talk about the decisions that were made during the match. And this is where I want to talk about the Liverpool goals. The first one being the handball by McAllister. It says right here, incident, McAllister scores goal. it ricochets off his elbow. I think for everybody, once they saw it, it was pretty cut and dry that it was a handball. You can't score from a direct handball, whether it was accidental or purposeful. See, it says here, says the law was correctly applied. I agree. He just blocked the strike with his elbow. Like he says it right here. I saw one replay. Even on the watch long, I knew. I saw one replay and I was like, it's not going to be allowed. Yeah. So moving on to the extension of time. Just for extension of time added with Liverpool. So 5 minutes was the added time, but obviously the goal was scored in the 97th minute. The extra time was added because Liverpool scored that elbow goal, and it was disallowed, and that's where the time came from. It was considered justified. I would say that's debatable. One, I don't know why it took you so long to see an elbow. I really don't. It was pretty obvious, cut and dry to me. So it should have been like 30 seconds, done and dusted. I think that's something that needs to be looked into. But with how long the review took, I think it was justified. The added time was justified. But I think the question in that situation needs to be, why did it take so long for such a blatant and obvious thing that everybody who saw the replay one time knew the answer? Moving on to the last incident, the actual goal for McAllister. You can see here, they don't talk about it. Convenient. Convenient, I know. And but I'll tell you who is talking about it. X is talking about it. They are talking about it a lot. And I've seen a lot of posts. This is one of the ones where it shows you the image that they use with the leg. They used Van Dyke for the onside offside. So I saw some people saying that it was Ekatike that was the player that was being used. That's incorrect. Ekatike was ignored. Van Dyke is the player being used. And the leg used for Ina and the offside is actually computer generated based off his positioning, which is something you need to remember because it's really important to what I'm about to talk about. What I'm about to talk about is this. So I took these images, I put them in Google, and I asked AI, hey, analyze these images, and all I want to know is the left leg of the player, number 34, Ina, is he in a different position than the player's leg in the generated image? And this is what was told to me. Yes, based on a visual analysis, the left leg of the player, number 34, appears to be positioned further to the left, which means more towards the goal, then in the first image frame compared to the second reference image. So the first image frame that was referenced is the one with the VAR, and the second was the picture from IRL. Horizontal displacement. In the first image, the VAR image, his left leg is extended outward and slightly toward the left side of the screen as he moves. In the second reference image, his left leg is more vertically aligned and planted under his torso, placing it more towards the center right of his individual salute. Stance variation. The first image captures a more lunged or wide stance moment. The second image shows him in a more upright, braced position, which makes sense because a player doesn't really see the ball being played until it's in the air or until players around him move. So Ina would have been in a braced stance and not moving yet when the ball was played. Offside point of reference. Because the left leg is further to the left in this first image, using it was the offside was likely in a different line placement than for drawing his position in the second image. So, what does that tell you? That tells you that the image that VAR used was computer generated, was not based on where the player's actual body positioning was, and could have or not been manipulated to be in a further more leaning position based on when they want to freeze the frame. What does that tell us? It tells us that VAR used an image with the player already in motion instead of using the one where he's standing still. And to me, that makes no sense because if you look at the image used on the TV, he is standing still. He hasn't started moving yet. I don't understand why they would use that position. I think this is something that needs to be investigated. I think it's something that needs to be looked into. I think Liverpool, honestly, the outcome of the match that's the most fair to me is 0-0, just because of the way we dominated and then the way that in the second half where we fell off, Liverpool created almost next to nothing. Like all their chances came from scrappy situations and not any actual like tactical nuance or any tactical adjustments. I just think the fair result would have been 0-0, and based on all my looking into it, analysts of the images, seeing all the different angles, I think VAR got it wrong. Now, is it corruption? I think it's debatable. I'm not willing to go to bat yet to say that it is corruption. I think it might have been a mismanagement of resources by VAR, as in they pulled the wrong image from the wrong time. But I mean, at the end of the day, guys, always told y'all I'm not one to blame referees for our losses, for our situation. Yeah, we didn't pick up 1 point like I feel like we should have, but we also had plenty of opportunities in the first half to score a goal, to take control of this game, to put Liverpool to the sword, put them to bed, and we didn't do it. So, who do I blame? I tell you who I don't blame. Vitor Pereira. I don't blame Vitor Pereira. I think he got the tactics 1000% correct. I think he got the substitutions correct because they're the ones I was calling for, of course. And I think overall his press conference, even after the match, was very like humane. He's like they asked him about the incident. He said, "Oh, I don't know how to look at it," but he said that in the end, he's just frustrated with football because he knows that maybe the fairest result would have been 0-0, but it was just an unfortunate situation. I mean, the more I watch this guy, the more I love this guy, the more I kind of want to dig into why he hasn't held down a job for more than a season. Um, but he said all the right things, did all the right things. I'm happy. I think looking forward, I'm positive. I watched that match in a Big Six club, and we absolutely bopped them off the park. I got to be positive. I think we can beat Brighton. I think we'll go toe to toe with Man City. I watched Man City play against Newcastle. I That's not prime Man City. I think we've got a chance, boys and girls. We've got a chance to go and do something at Man City. We got to be more clinical. That is really the killer thing. Vita Pereira talked about Chris Wood coming back. He said that he should be back this season at some point. I don't want to rely on that. I want to rely on what we have right now. For Brighton, Awani needs to start. I understand people have their opinions on him. Uh, He's just I he's got to start. We have to give him a chance to prove himself in the Premier League at least. And I like it's I'm fumbling for solutions because I don't think Luke is the answer. And Igor, I at this point you gotta put the fries in the bag. Hey, Igor Jesus is not our striker in the Premier League. He's not. Great in Europe. I would love for him to start every match in Europe, but for the Premier League, he just needs to be a sub. So that's all I got to say. That's my takes on everything involved with this match. A lot to go through. And, if you guys liked it, leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. And I feel good. I feel good about it. I feel really positive about the direction we're going in. And I think we can beat Brighton. So, come on, you Reds!